Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Business Innovators Radio. This is your host, Constant Taylor. Today, we have a very special guest on the show, and they're going to share some very exciting information with us. So, if you're looking to increase your personal and professional effectiveness, then you have come to the right place. Our special guest today is Lee Ellis. Lee has been speaking professionally for over 4 years. The content that Lee primarily speaks on is self-leadership and leading others. He also provides inspiration from his courageous experience as a POW in a concentration camp. Lee has spoken both nationally and internationally and is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Lee's latest book is called Leading with Honor, Leadership Lessons from the Hanoi Hilton. Lee, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, and good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. I know that you're a busy person, so we'll go ahead and get started. Could you tell the listeners exactly what topics you speak on and how do you help your clients?
Okay. A little background. I spent 25 years in the Air Force. I was a fighter pilot in the Vietnam era and was shot down and captured. Was a prisoner of war, in fact, with John McCain, 5.5 years.
Wow.
In fact, resumed my flying career. And in that, at the end of my flying career, which was a good many years, but still in the Air Force, I actually ran 2 leadership schools in the Air Force. In retirement, I've owned my own leadership consulting company now in Atlanta for almost 18 years. So my real passion in life is really about developing leaders, helping leaders develop their people, developing others, developing senior leadership teams and all that. So when I speak, it's usually around leadership because everybody is interested in becoming a better leader. And the same principles apply really for life, just for people who aren't leaders, because we're talking about developing yourself and developing other people, and everybody's involved in that in some way or another. So I'll take several of these lessons. For instance, first chapter out of the book is know yourself. Because if you're going to develop as a person or as a leader, you have to objectively know who you are and what are your strengths, what are your struggles, what are you really good at, what are you not so good at, what do you like to do, what's your passion, what are your values. Very important because you don't want to be working in an organization or an industry that doesn't match your values.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are your skills? So you put all that together, you understand yourself. So know yourself would be that important. Secondly would be guard your character. Everybody says they have good character, but the reality is our character is on trial every day, and we're tempted to take shortcuts and do things that we probably shouldn't do at times, and so we need to be on guard for that. The biggest issue I see with people, and especially leaders, is fear. Fear takes people out. Most people don't like to say they have fear, but they have doubts. So doubts and fears will take you out as a leader or as a person. So we train and teach and encourage people to learn to lean into the doubts and fears, lean into the pain of that, and just figure out what the right thing to do is, move ahead and go do it. And you always come out ahead that way. So that would be 3 of the principles or lessons from my story from the POW camp that we would bring in today's workplace and show how those are actually just as valid and very important in today's workplace.
Okay, excellent. Now, in terms of leadership and developing leadership, do you feel that a leader is someone who is born, or is it something that's learned, or is it a combination of both?
Well, it's definitely a combination of both. We know that everybody has some born leadership traits. Some of them are more obvious than others. You know, you can watch a playground of second graders, 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds or whatever, second, third graders, and you will see leadership emerge. They haven't been trained in leadership. They just have some natural skills. And one of those would be the desire to be in charge. That's a natural born skill. I have that desire. My wife doesn't. I like to be in charge. She's okay with that most of the time. I've learned at home it's better to let her be in charge of a lot of things, which works out well. But it's both natural, but it's also learned. In fact, I've been learning about leadership all my life. I'm learning every week, almost every day, and trying to grow in that area. And I think the best leaders are always on a learning curve, trying to grow, improve their leadership. Because some of the habits we have, some of the worldviews and mindsets we have, some of those natural struggles we have, are not contributive to good leadership. So we should always be learning either how to maximize our strengths or to minimize our struggles.
If you needed to give someone a crash course in leadership, you have an executive who hired you for maybe a 2-hour assignment and says, look, I need to become more effective as a leader immediately. What advice would you give that person as a crash course in leadership?
Well, I would say there are about 3 or 4 things. Number one is you got to show respect for other people, for in every direction, up, down, sideways, other people in your arena. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them, whether you're disciplining them or rewarding them, showing respect for others is a powerful tool for the leader. So that's number one. And that kind of tied to your character. So the character is kind of the foundation. Are you standing for the right things? Are you standing up when you should stand up and sitting down and listening when you need to sit down and listen? So are you being respectful? That would be number one. Number 2 is you have to get results. Now, some people are naturally talented and wired up by their personality to want to get results. That's 40% of the population, okay? 40% of the population, though, is wired up first for relationships and not results. But as a leader, you got to do both. 20%, only 20%, are wired naturally for some of both. And under pressure, they're going to go toward results. So everybody's got some room to grow in that. So I work with leaders. I could make a living for the next 1,000 years helping leaders who are results-oriented learn a few skills to be more relational, and helping leaders that are relationship-oriented to learn a few skills to be more results-oriented. So that's what I would focus on right there. Respect, which would probably include listening, and humility. If you have respect and humility and you're strong, results-oriented, and you care about people and can show that, you can develop to be a great leader.
Excellent advice. Now, what is the most, well, let me start with business case. Tell me about a business case where you were actually able to take an organization or an individual and significantly improve or measurably improve their leadership skills and effectiveness.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things, in addition to those I just mentioned, would be I would work with them on emotional intelligence, because the results show and the research shows that IQ is important, but only up to a certain point. Beyond that, being more intelligent doesn't really help you. So, but EQ, emotional intelligence, becomes more and more important, and especially the higher up you go. And that emotional intelligence is about, 1, recognizing your own emotions and managing them appropriately, recognizing the emotions of others and responding appropriately to those, because that's very, very powerful. You can really turn people off in a hurry if you don't manage your own emotions, and you can turn people off in a hurry if you don't respond appropriately to the emotions of others. So that would be one area. The other one would be dealing with conflict in their communications. Conflict is a good thing. Most organizations, people naturally tend to avoid it and are uncomfortable with it. I actually work with leadership teams to teach them how to have productive, creative conflict where everybody puts their opinions on the table. We listen to them. We draw out the conflict. We listen to it and see where they're alike and where we're different. And then once a decision is made, you've heard all the evidence for both sides or all sides. Now you make a better decision, but even more importantly, you get buy-in because everybody's had their say.
Okay, excellent. Now, in terms of individual who, let's call him a hothead, and that's a person who does not manage their emotional leadership very well, are there specific techniques that you use to assist this individual?
Did you say a hothead?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I think you have to show them that, help them to see how that is not working in their favor. You know, you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's not wise. And what's the impact? Let's look at the impact of being a hothead. How does that make you look to the other people you're trying to influence? You know, leadership is about influence. And when you're a hothead, you know, you're responding emotionally, let's say with anger. I think that's what we're talking about. You become irrational sometimes. You certainly are not being respectful if you overreach. I'm not saying don't get angry. There are times it's good to show a little anger to let people know that you're really serious. With some people, if you don't show a little irritation and anger, they don't think that anything's wrong. So I think you can show anger, but I think you show it respectfully. I think that's the key. The other thing is, I have a degree of anger and can come out. I'm a verbal person, so it can come out very quickly. And I've just learned to manage it. I've learned that doesn't work. You know, it's like, why would you continue to undermine your success, undermine your relationships, and if you can see that it doesn't work? Well, it's just, you have to learn to discipline yourself. And then as you start to discipline yourself and manage and sometimes you just have to manage, you have to memorize how to handle that. How am I going to handle it when I get angry like this? And then you respond appropriately. It's amazing how much more effective you can be. And then you start to pat yourself on the back and say, well, that was pretty good. I managed that pretty well. I remember my wife giving me thumbs up, you know, when I was being able to manage myself from being angry in certain situations or speaking inappropriately. And that felt good that she recognized that I was working at it. She gave me thumbs up, and I knew I was making progress, and that inspired me to make more progress.
Interesting. One question that I would like to know is, you obviously took a negative, challenging situation, however you'd like to phrase it, and turned it into something positive. A prisoner of war into a man who helps organizations and individuals with their leadership. When did you get the spark to say, hey, I can use this? Was it while you were in the camp? Did you say, hey, I'm going to turn this negative into a positive one day, and this is how I can do it? Or was it later down the line? When did the inspiration hit you?
You know, in the camps, I just was trying to get through day by day and to be a good military soldier, a good airman, a good warrior day to day, to be a good follower, and at times influence my leader. And I did have to maintain a positive attitude. I think that was very important, that most all of us understood that we had to believe that someday we would walk out of there and keep a positive attitude and try to grow ourselves even into those bad conditions. Coming home, I just wanted to go out and compete on an equal footing with everybody else. Well, I was six years from the war, and then I got promoted 2 years early to major, so now I'm 8 years behind my peers. But I just believed that, that I could do it. And then what I didn't understand until looking back later was I actually gained a lot of wisdom about leadership in that situation. Later, in retrospect, I saw that because I had had a positive attitude and had learned a lot about leadership, I had really, it really helped me along the way. And that's when I decided to share that. That's when I really saw, over the years, I think I saw that those trials and that crucible actually gave me more confidence. It helped me be more mature. And I think most people who go through suffering learn that we actually learn more through suffering than we do through good times. We don't learn much in good times. Everything's going fine. We don't have to grow. But when you're suffering, you examine yourself, you examine your environment, and you say, how can I be better? How can I be a better person? How can I be more mature? And so sometimes just the resilience and the mental commitment to get through, having the attitude to get through something is what you need in life anyway. And so suffering gives you a lot of tools to be more successful in life. In fact, the chapter 14 in the book is called Treasure Your Trials. Chapter 13, rather, is called Treasure Your Trials and Celebrate Your Successes. And I do believe that you see this all the time, people that have gone through cancer or lost a leg in the war or whatever, that people bounce back and have a very successful life. You know, we saw Ray Charles, a singer. We saw the other blind singer, such a great artist. We see people all the time that have overcome hardship. So I think attitude there is so important.
Okay, excellent. Now, if the listeners would like to get in contact with you, learn more about what you do, and possibly utilize your services, how can they do that?
Well, I would say the first place, there's a lot of information on the social media and on the website. So if you go to leadingwithhonor.com, Leading with Honor, that's the name of the book, leadingwithhonor.com, it'll roll into Freedom Star Media, where we have a lot of information about my speaking, my books, and I do free coaching every month. I do a 5-minute video coaching, leadership coaching every month. It's free on there. I write a blog every month, and that's free. So there's a lot of free information about leadership on that website. For speaking, I also have an access there, a link there to leeellis.us, which is my speaking website, leeellis.us, but that's on leadingwithhonor.com. And then my consulting company is Leadership Freedom, LLC, and that's leadershipfreedom.com. But you can reach all of those from that one website of leadingwithhonor.com. Social media, I do have a public Facebook site that's Leon Lee Ellis or Leading with Honor, either one of those. And I'm on Twitter, Lee Ellis there. So there's a lot of, we try to put out a lot of information to help people every week and sometimes every day.
Okay, excellent. Lee, that was...
And also you can get my book on all the online, or most bookstores will have it, but not all, but they have it in their online capability.
Okay, great. Well, Lee, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was extremely powerful and inspiring information that you shared with our listeners.
Well, thank you so much, Constance. It's good to be with you today.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.